right, so here we have our long-awaited Retropie image for the Opi5. This image right now is about 64 gigabytes. The actual size of it is 58 gigabytes. Hopefully it should fit on most SD cards. Reason why that's being is because typically the actual base is about 32, but if you guys are familiar with the Raspberry Pi situation, the Raspberry Pi scenario, they have something called Pi Shrink. So currently there is no foolproof way to shrink this image down. So what I decided to do is go ahead and compile a large number of emulators on here for you, fill it up to 64 gigabytes, added a few games, so that way that additional free space wouldn't just be useless when you guys get this image. But yeah, typically the base about for this was about maybe 2 to about 6 gigabytes. Went ahead and did a lot of the work for you guys, compiling, you know, MAME, some of the other emulators that are needed, such as Swan Station, Duck Station, as well as a number of different emulators. Some of you've never done that before, but approximately that took up about 32 gigabytes. So what we do have here is our first look at the Opi5 running Retropie. This is made by the SupremeTeam. If you guys aren't familiar with what's going on, the Patreon Supreme Retro Gaming and YouTube is not associated with the official Supreme Retro Gaming. I know it's a bit of a hassle, but there was a breakup with a couple of guys. So the Facebook group is controlled by the SupremeTeam, and I'm helping representing their products and stuff that they do put out. Now, the base image, actually the image itself is made by me. I've done all the configurations, but please keep in mind that this is a beta. This is going out to Patreon supporters and whatnot. We're not sure when or if a full version is going to come out, because there's still a lot of things we do need to check for this. But you guys will have something to play with. As you know, I've said in previous videos, wanted to give you guys something to look at, give you an estimated time, and now here we are. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the options version. The one that you guys are going to look at is going to be a little different. If you guys watched my Orange Pi video that I did a few days ago, there are 2 different versions for this, so you guys aren't confused. This one you're looking at is a Debian version. The other one you guys are getting is Armbian. You will notice the difference looking at the menu, because at the top it will say Armbian, and then of course you're allowed to install a number of different systems based on that. So you do have your Bluetooth configuration, you have your ES themes, RetroArch, Retropie setup. I'll go ahead and show you guys really quickly a number of the emulators that I did set up for this. But I have noticed that not all the emulators are consistent compared to this with the Armbian and the Debian version. Plus, it's not as consistent with what I've had just with basic emulators using Odroid or even the Raspberry Pi. For example, I've noticed emulation on PlayStation is a little off, is not exactly a one-to-one experience. And then also by default, keep in mind, this is a 8-core processor. It also has more memory on here, but just by default, with this having about, what, 4 to 5 times more processing power than the Raspberry Pi 4, sometimes not all of these emulators will see all these additional cores to take advantage of it. In most cases, they'll probably see 2, maybe if 3 processors to take advantage of it. We still don't have Vulkan compilation on here to compile, but hey, this is again a beta to give you guys a quick look and up close personal experience as to what we do have to offer. So a lot of these emulators are installed. I did go ahead and install some of the drivers for you. You guys could see the ones there in red won't currently compile. We do have a number of these that are installed right now. Let's go here. I'm going to look at the driver package really quickly. I know some of these on here won't install, so let's go down here and look at install packages. So these are just a number of emulators that I did install. And so again, as I said earlier, some of the emulators by default isn't giving you a better optimal performance. We're still working on some of things like that. So for example, I use Flycast, and Flycast is still laggy playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2, if you guys are familiar with Dreamcast emulation. So again, just having better hardware isn't going to give you a better performance. But it took me a number of hours and days to get some of these compiled, you know, test a number of different systems. You do have MAME 2003, 10, 16, MAME, Messen, Neo CD. So everything up till, I want to say Sega Saturn runs pretty decently. It's not exactly where I think it should be, but it runs okay. Another addition is we do have Atari Jaguar. That's running pretty well, which ran like crap on the Raspberry Pi 4. So you guys will get that a better experience there. So again, you will also see some videos here on the channel with Sega Saturn emulation. It is running much better. I do have some other emulators that are installed, such as Dolphin. However, for whatever apparent reason, I'm still looking into it. That Wii games and also GameCube games within the Retropie interface by default aren't launching right now. But again, that is still something we're working on. Some other things that are going to be missing from this image, because their Orange Pi 5 uses different video drivers, are currently right now splash screens, intro splash screens, which is why you guys haven't seen any on any of my videos, and then also video loading screens. Now, if you guys are familiar, the SupremeTeam created the video loading screens. All of that would have to be fixed. All of that has to be corrected in order for that to work. But again, right now the main goal is to give you a one-on-one comparison, apples to apples, not apples to bananas or oranges, experience using Retropie. So everything that you're currently getting on the Raspberry Pi 4, the first step is to make sure that, you know, that's what it is, that's what you're getting. The emulation is on par, very similar. Video loading screens are there, all the scripts are working. But again, this is just a beta, but that is the goal. And then aside from that, the other thing is to see if we could get Sega Model 2, Sega Model 3, and then also Fightcade, to see if we could launch that within a different, within the Retropie some type of way. However, I did have a number of other issues trying to get Kodi to work on here. It is installed, it is working now. There were some workarounds that, you know, but again, this is a beta, guys. I'm just releasing this so you guys have something to work on. But right now you will have emulation with the Atari Jaguar. Most of the games will run fine. Sega Saturn, been playing some Virtual Cop, that runs fine, including Die Hard Arcade. I have two different versions. You guys will hear a little bit more from that from me, that some of the sounds don't work on some versions and some it does, but for the most part it does give you a decent emulation experience and sounds are okay. So you will get about 2,000 arcade games. Tested most of those, some of them do work. I did try to hook up the AE light gun, it did not connect. I have not tried the sending gun because after everything that we've tried to do so far, this is where we are. Hope you guys appreciate the effort. But then of course I would have to load the software and then test everything, go through with the sending. I have not had time to try to even load the software to see if it will work and then what the user experience would be. But just plugging in the AE light gun by itself, it just wouldn't respond. So that is something we will have to look into eventually with maybe more help. But again, there's only a few of us doing this that have even gotten this far. So that still remains to be seen. But other than that, I'm really happy with it. You do have a number of different things that you will get included with this. Well, right now we're looking at my personal Venom theme. You also do have the Blu-ray version, which will look like this. So this will be your experience when you guys get it out of the box. You should have Nintendo ready to go, Super Nintendo, some Sega Saturn, and then of course some other games. Again, I tried to squeeze as much as I personally could on that 64 gigabyte image to see if I can get it to work. Now, I did try an adapter. I do have a USB-C adapter that I typically use for PC to see if we could get the dual marquee script working, and it is possible. But again, guys, that is the beta. Just giving you guys the rundown of what some of my testing has been the past several weeks, which is why I haven't really uploaded any videos in the past 2 or 3 weeks, because I needed to do a deep dive, test as much as I could to get this working. And so if you guys watched a couple of days ago, I did release a video about the Opi5 and the team. They released another model called the Opi5B with the included Wi-Fi and Bluetooth adapter or dongle or adapter that's actually soldered on the board. And I hope you guys understand the purpose of this video is also to let you know that I can only guarantee this to work with equipment that I have. I can't guarantee this to work with other equipment that may be released. In fact, we couldn't really guarantee it working with either a Pi5 4GB model, 16 or 32, because we don't have it. And I love to test, and I know you guys are spending your money, and we love to be accurate about the presentation we're giving you and sure about our facts, but we don't have it, we don't test it. And you know, for that company to release the product as they did so early and close to the release date of the first model, I don't know, that's just something that they could have waited on and just led with the other one. So if you guys do get the Opi5B, which has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which is something I would recommend that you guys getting, I can't guarantee you this will work. So, and then of course I can't guarantee you it will work within the 4 different variants of 4, 8, 16, or 32 gigabyte variants. So there's 8 variants of this board out now. So I can only give you my answer based upon what I actually have. All right, so Dreamcast runs pretty good, decently, you know, for some of the games. There's still some optimizations you guys will have to do. I did try downloading or compiling the PlayStation 2 emulator within Retropie. Had some hiccups there that's still being tested, but again, I think this is pretty decent for what you guys are looking for. You will have a number of systems, so if you guys are currently looking for, you don't want to pay $130 right now for a Raspberry Pi 4. And you want to get this board for like what, maybe 90 bucks. You just want to emulate some things and have a cheaper alternative. I would say this is pretty, you know, good for what it'll give you if you don't mind missing the splash screens and video loading screens. But yeah, your emulation for Super Nintendo, NES, Sega Dreamcast, Sega Genesis, you know, all the other basic systems. I haven't tried Daphne. They run pretty good, especially even Atari Jaguar. But again, this will be 64 gigabytes. I did test, this is also set up to work. You will recognize a PlayStation controller, PlayStation 5 controller, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. I used my Chrono Zen to emulate all of those controls. Everything worked fine. The only thing it didn't work with out of the box was the Nintendo Switch controller, which will still have to be looked into. You can use a mouse or a keyboard. That did work, because I do know that there was a Batacera image that was released. Certain controllers would not work, so I thought it would be important to mention that. You guys should not have any problems at all getting up and running. Cody, you should be able to download all your movies and everything on here. YouTube's been cracking down on tutorials about that. I would show you guys how to do this, but you would have to watch some of my other videos or whatever's left, because I think I had 2 of them deleted. So you guys will have that media center interface built into this image as well. Some other things that we are working on is auto expand. Auto expand does work for this. I've already done it, so you guys don't have to worry about this. But if I gave you the true base image of this, which was like 2 gigabytes, I'm not sure if I'll release that or not. I might, just all depends on, you know, what some of my supporters, you know, want. But I think it's like 2 or 3 gigabytes. That will auto expand for you. That was something that wasn't presented before. That was something we added so you guys could have it, because initially when I would compile the base to get this working, it would just make it look like the card was already full, and it wasn't. So the auto expand had to be added. We are working on Pi Shrink. There is a Pi Shrink version, but in some cases it breaks the image. So that was something before that some of the other single board computers don't have. That is another reason that I have frustration the other day, is because we test these things because we care. You guys are spending your money, and we don't want you spinning your wheels. We want to do as much as we can to present everything to you in the easiest possible fashion. But I think right now this would be a good interface. I wish it had more community support in terms of additional drivers and whatnot. We'll have to see what, you know, remains to be seen within the next 6 months, possibly to a year, as we continue to tinker. But again, there's been a lot of work, night and day toiling to get you guys where you need to be right now as far as the emulation. But I did notice that some of the emulation was a little bit slower or faster compared to the two different bases that I have. There is some levels of inconsistency. We're still looking into that between the Armbian version and the Debian version. And again, you guys will notice this in the option screen at the very top. It'll say Armbian, and you can install some differences. So if you guys ever message me or say, hey, I have a problem with this, that's what I'm referring to. That's how we'll know which image you're really referring to. But for right now, the beta that you guys are getting is the first beta that I got. Currently, well, it's technically beta 4 for me. It'll be your first beta. I think right now we're looking into splash screens and videos, which is like beta 5. So some of that has been fixed and adjusted, but everything still needs to be tested. But again, in the future, maybe we'll add the video loading screen so you could use the marquee display because the second display does recognize. I did test that out. But other than that, I mean, I love the Orange Pi for what it possibly can offer and what it can do. You know, it runs a number of different games on here just fine. I've started out with the basics, you know, with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, X-Men. The emulation on all of these games are great, and in some of these cases when I played the consoles, they almost look like they were in high definition, even though I know they're only running or super or ultimate high definition or whatever the case might be, even though I know it's only being upscaled at 1080p. But for whatever reason, it looked a little clearer than it typically does on another a smaller TV, or I would say maybe a high definition TV. I don't know, I'm just giving you guys my visual perception from what I've witnessed playing some of these games. I could tell that the clarity was a little bit better than it was on the Raspberry Pi. But aside from that, you know, this is a good image. I am using the Orange Pi 5 8 gigabyte model, so I can't guarantee you if the performance or whatever you'll get will be consistent with what I've had if you decide to get the 16 gigabyte, 32, or even the 4. But haven't had a chance to test out any light gun games. I did use the keyboard. Super Mario, you will have some better emulation with the N64 experience. Make sure you check out some of my Raspberry Pi tutorials with Retropie to get the best emulation experience possible with that. A lot of those things will still carry over to that. But again, I'm happy with the work. I definitely want to thank a few members on the Supreme team for helping out with this project. If you guys have any questions or concerns, please leave a comment below. I'm probably aware of some of the issues. This is a beta. This is not a finalized product because I know you guys have seen videos with PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable emulation. Totally different interfaces if you're using Android. Again, this is to give you the best possible experience porting over Retropie and seeing what we can do as a starting point. But, you know, I've learned a lot with the RK3588 chip as far as what it can do. I've noticed inconsistencies with it compared to computer and some of the other single board computers that are out there. As far as what it can do, its limitations. Again, I've noticed certain games that I've never had a problem with, either running faster or slower. Looking at it on a 1-to-1 ratio experience. Like NFL Blitz was running much faster on PlayStation, and I've never had emulation issues on the PlayStation side of things. I was just typically just a ROM dump. You load a bunch of games in there, and pretty much for the most part, they're all a-okay. But this was a labor of love. Again, a lot of work went into this. I'll keep you guys updated. I'll be busy for the next few more days, but again, this is where a lot of testing has gone into this, and I don't think anybody else has released anything else for this board. But you know, I want to definitely thank all of you who are in the community. I want to thank all the Patreon followers for believing in us, believing in me, believing in the project, you know, to support, because this is where your funds go into things like this to help support products like this, where we're buying SD cards, SSD, providing coding, hours and hours and hours of testing and compiling. But it is fun. It is a hobby. This is what we do. And a lot of this information that I'm giving you will transpire over or carry over to at games and Arcade 1-Up, because they're using the same type of chip, using an Android-based operating system. But it does give me some more information which I can share with you, and how some of these chips will work in terms of emulation. So with that being said, it is my birthday weekend. I'm going to go out right now, have some fun. The links will be provided on Patreon through Google. It'll be a Google Drive, and then also a Mega. 64 gigabytes. Sometimes Google will have a hiccup, but if you don't want to have any interruptions, make sure you use the Mega Drive link to download all of this. But we're still looking into some things. Hopefully the next beta or release will be much better. I'm not sure if or when. Again, there will be a public release. But, you know, we've had some other people reached out to us, say, hey, you know, if you give it to us, you know, we can help out, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, apparently people didn't want to put in the work to even try to get something like this to boot themselves. But we did even bypass the sound issue, because originally sound wouldn't even work by default. So even though this may look like a carbon copy of Retropie, it is not a carbon copy, because there are many instances of things that needed to be adjusted, fixed, encoded, just to get some of the the simple stuff working, like even sound, because we didn't have sound when we first started with the first beta. But all the basic stuff is here. I don't think there's anything left. Hope you guys enjoy. All have a great day. I'll catch you guys later. This is KDK out. Me and the Supreme Team, definitely thank you for your time. Have a good day.